Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Big Shiny Coin podcast. If you're not following me on Twitch, twitch.tv/somberdon_Chad, you're making poor life choices and you need to fix that. Going to be streaming a whole lot of our video production stuff. And of course, that ends up on our YouTube channel over at Somberdon Studios on YouTube. So follow both of those. Those are the two most important ones. All the other ones are cool too, but we know where the good stuff is. So today we have Miranda of Vertical Slice joining us on the podcast.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I am doing pretty okay. I'm having some weird allergic reaction in my mouth, so that's kind of goofy. But otherwise, I'm great.
Yeah, you said that before the podcast, and I'm like, I mean, don't die. Like,
It's just weird. It's fine.
She's being a real trooper right now. She's like, it's okay. I'm dying, but this podcast is super important.
It feels kind of like getting like a shot. Like, you know, when they numb you out before they fill cavities or something.
Uh-huh.
That's what it feels like.
But
so
just
it's
like,
all good. It doesn't hurt.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like getting the shot, but just like constant.
No.
Okay,
no.
after you get the shot.
Yes.
Okay, that's much
the fun
better.
Part.
The very fun part. Okay, so what is Vertical Slice and what do you do for it?
Oh, man.
I know, big
Vertical
questions.
It is an entertainment media site focusing on video games. Though we do a lot of stuff with movies and comics and stuff that we like as well. Mostly it's a lot of stuff that we like. But we do Let's Plays, we do written content. We have like a very rigid schedule for when we release stuff. We have a regular podcast where we just talk about news and gaming and culture and whatnot. And then we have another one with me and my friend Parker that is just about anime.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's my favorite part, but it might be.
So,
and
when did you get started with it? Or what is your job at Vertical Slice?
Technically, I am producer. I'm the one who handles all the cats.
Gotcha.
And makes sure everybody else does their job and does the calendaring and all that jazz.
That's important. That's super important. So, when did this start, and how did you guys get started?
So we launched in January at the very beginning. We planned originally to launch at PlayStation Experience last year, which was the first weekend of December. And we, in fact, planned a huge party. We had printed out invitations and everything. They looked dope. And then we couldn't get launch ready in time, so we just threw a huge party for fun instead.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great reason to throw a party too, right?
It was pretty baller. We had a really nice Airbnb.
Oh, nice.
And so we started thinking about it in October of last year. Me and five of my friends. And we'd all wanted to do something similar for a really long time because we all follow games media pretty religiously. We all have favorites in the IGN staff and Kotaku and Polygon here and there. So we've all been, and Waypoint. So we've been looking at this stuff for a really long time, and we've all been like, well, this is something we could do with our individual skills if we came together. And then Parker joined the group, and Parker's hilarious. And it just brought it all together.
I see he's joining us in chat already.
Nice boy. He came to visit.
I'm not sure if this is a good or a bad thing.
That's how I feel at all times when I see Parker.
So what motivated you guys to start? What made you really we should do this? What was that driving factor?
It finally felt right, I think, because we've been talking about it for so long. We all met in such a weird way. And it finally came to this fruition. This is a solid group of people. We're always gonna be there for each other. We can trust in each other enough to start something and know that we'll do it. So everybody just kind of came to it all at once. Somebody was like, we should do this. Probably me, to be honest. Was I don't remember because I have the memory of I don't know, housefly. But we were like, we should do this. let's do it. And we set up the Slack and we started to like it all happened fast after that.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, this is what we're calling it. I designed an initial logo that was like really cool, but not a good logo.
Mm-hmm.
And after PSX, I designed our current one on the plane on the way back.
How did you? I love the name. Like, obviously, it's an insider term almost. Like, how did you settle on Vertical Slice?
So it was very funny because it was all via text chat in the Slack. So it started off because we have a group of friends. When we all started being friends with each other, we had a PSN chat, which we would never use after that, called Family Game Night.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's where we had all of our friends as we collected them join in. There are like 9 of us who are friends now. And we were gonna do Family Game Night, and then we were like, wait, Hasbro exists, so we can't do that.
Yeah.
And so we were just trading ideas back and forth. I remember somebody said, my favorite one that somebody suggested was Nocturnal Transmissions.
I like that one too.
Right? We went through a few other ones, and then Trevor, our editor, was like, guys, Vertical Slice. And I don't think he expected us to react as well to it, because we were all like, wait, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's just inside baseball enough.
Yeah.
Like,
right. I love it. I had a recent struggle with the name, kind of what we were talking about earlier, with the newly renamed Big Shiny Coin podcast. It was previously the Dawn Dev podcast, which I thought was boring as hell to anyone who didn't know what it already was, and said basically nothing about the podcast itself. And similarly in Slack, I was like, man, I don't just it was a while. Like, we had been doing the podcast for a bit, and I'm like, man, I don't like this name. I don't like this name. We should come up with a different name. And basically the others' concerns were like, well, if we rename it, I just don't want to bounce back and forth between things. And I'm like, well, agreed. But I still want a different name. Like, I don't like it. And then, like, I asked around other places in a couple of different Discord channels or whatever. And somebody had the great idea of Dawn of the Dev. And I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Taken. Of course it's taken.
Oh, dang.
I know. I would have absolutely gone with that. But then I just got pissed off in Slack one day and was just like, I would literally rather call this thing Big Shiny Coin. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's pretty good, actually. That's not bad. That's not bad. And I'm like, my first thought was, surely that's taken. It has to be. There's no way. And I Googled it, and I'm like, there's a band called Shiny Coin. That doesn't really matter. No, I got it. So I actually bought the domain for it just to be safe.
Good job.
Screw it. I want Big Shiny Coin.
We did that too. As soon as we secured the name, oh my god.
Good idea.
Securing the name, by the way, was such a task.
Really?
So we actually have to, like, technically, the full name is Vertical Slice Media.
Right.
Because we can't have Vertical Slice. Only because there's some guy who's been sitting on the Vertical Slice URL for like 14 years. And I
what a dick!
Him, and I was like, hey, you aren't using this.
Yeah.
This is what we want to do. Is there any way we could get this from you? We can pay you a little bit for it, whatever. Because you haven't used it in the 14 years you've had it. He's like, well, I run a company that's like business logistics, so like, how much are you willing to pay me? And I was like, I'm done with this.
Jesus Christ.
I already know what you're doing.
Yeah. I bought up a whole crap load of domains 14 years ago, and now I'm exploiting people for them.
Oh, man.
Perfect.
I remember getting that email. It was beautiful.
Oh, my God.
I just was like sending snapshots of it to the chat. I was like, can you believe this?
Yeah. I was in like a different Slack. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't our main domain. That wasn't a problem to get. Somber Dawn Studios was totally fine. But it was something else that I was looking at. And I was talking to, like, in a different Slack channel, just to people like, oh, I'm kind of thinking of this thing, this name, whatever, for this thing. And I'm like, the domain's not taken, but I can't even remember what it was, but I ended up, like, not going with it. But I checked, like, a day after being in that Slack, and it was taken. And I'm like, oh, did somebody poach this for me? Like, you dicks.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I'm not certain that's what I don't know. But luckily it didn't even mean anything. So like this time when I was coming up with names, I was actually super like, I kept it like super, I didn't mention
Quiet.
Big Shiny Coin anywhere. I was like, hey, what are some good names? And didn't mention the one I had in mind because I'm like, I don't want anybody to take this one.
They better not. That's so funny.
Yeah. So what are your goals with Vertical Slice? Do you guys want to make this like a full-time gig for everybody eventually?
That's like the dream,
right,
right. But it's the far distant dream,
right?
Because that takes a lot of work, and we all work full-time. Like there are 6 of us, and each of us is talented in one specific thing. And while everybody wants to learn more, and once everybody does, because right now we have one person who can consistently edit videos on like a decent time schedule.
Okay.
So everybody wants to learn how to do that, so then we can start putting out more content of that variety. People want to start. We're going to start streaming. I think later this week I'll put up our stream schedule so we can get that going. So it's all small steps to build. What I want is to be able to get press badges. What I want is to be able to book appointments and like finally start getting into things. And that won't even mean we're super big, but that's one of the bigger stepping stones to getting there.
Yeah. I love that approach. That's kind of the approach we're taking with our game studio too, because a lot of people get it in their head like, I'm going to make a video game, put it on Steam, it's going to make $1 million, and I'm going to buy a Ferrari. And I'm like, that's not at all how it works. Not
we all understand
even close.
That we're in this for a long game.
Yes. I think that's very important because like it can get kind of discouraging at times. Like, I mean, our YouTube and Twitch stuff is pretty young still, so I mean, I haven't had the chance to get discouraged yet because I don't even have even the first taste of it. But I've just seen so many people, just online in different communities talking about how it can be so, discouraging at times because you feel like you're going nowhere. But then you talk to people who have actually like made it, and number one thing they always say is you just got to keep doing it. You just got it's not a game, it's just a game of inches. You just get a couple followers here and there, a couple followers, over time.
Our big thing when we started was that if we're gonna do this, consistency is gonna be key. So if you can't commit to that one thing, then we're not gonna do it. But everybody was like, no, we're going to do this, we're gonna be consistent, we're gonna stick on this weekly schedule, we're gonna get things done. And I was like, all right, then let's do the damn thing.
Yeah. And
everybody's been good about it since. And I think that's like a key part in getting us further and further.
Right. I've had some some stumbling with that too, because I try to keep on a consistent schedule with the blog, which is not a thing anymore. But
okay.
Right. But originally I was trying to keep on a consistent schedule with the blog, like post weekly or whatever. And I realized that just like editing it and making it perfect, and it wasn't something that I could keep on a consistent schedule. But the podcast, I've totally been able to do that. Weirdly enough, the 1 hour played series on YouTube, I've also been able to do that, even though it is way more work than the blog. I for some reason, that one I can keep consistent with. I guess it's just because I enjoy the process of it so much.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's all about. Is like, yeah, and it was so weird because like when I was doing the blog actively, I've kind of toyed around with bringing it back just because I do have, I have stuff I can write. It's just a matter of, I gotta put this stuff into my website. I gotta shove it in there. But I found like I could write a blog post like that. Like I got one blog post featured on GamesBeat. And it took me literally a lunch break to write, but the time was in actually editing it and putting it up and like making sure that all of the settings were fine, and that's what took me a long time. It's all that back end stuff.
All those specific skills I talked about, we have one person just for that.
Boom, that's perfect. See, I was that one person, but I also had to do a bunch of other crap too.
Yeah, no. He does oh god, front end software engineering for his real job.
Gotcha.
So
that's nifty. That's helpful. That that's super helpful.
We're big fans.
Yeah. So what what projects do you have in the works? What are you making? What are you making?
Oh goodness. Okay. So we've got some like intensive Let's Play series coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So Parker and I are playing through Prey.
I've seen that.
To many screams. Um, and we're having a really good time. We're gonna do the whole series of it. We're gonna do the whole game. We're making some mad progress there, and I know 2 other people are doing Dark Souls.
Fantastic.
And they're just counting deaths, you know
Right.
the drill.
Oh yeah.
And we have some like we're getting into this pattern now. We've shifted our schedule so that our writers have time to like fully develop real stuff. As like nothing wrong with what we put out presently, but having that chance to like fully articulate something you want to talk about that you care about is like important to us.
All
We'd
right.
like to get to a point at some point where we can release multiple Let's Plays a week. We just got to get there first.
Yeah.
We're still building. It's only been 3 months.
Yeah, I understand that. It's strange because I'm kind of doing, similar stuff on a smaller scale with the studio. That's kind of my job here at the moment. 'Cause it's weird. We'll go demo and they'll be like, "You made this game?" And I'll be like, technically no, because I was doing all this other stuff of like, making the logos and trying to get the word out on YouTube.
Yes.
And yeah, I made it. It's fine. Usually my answer is just yeah. But I always feel a little guilty because like the person who actually made it is sitting beside me and I'm like, I'm taking all your credit, man. But it's I think that kind of division of labor with small projects, because like I had a conversation one Discord channel about how originally we had 5 people in the studio. 4, 5.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I lost count as well. And people were like, a lot of people in this specific channel were solo developers, like completely indie. A lot of them doing it for a hobby or whatever, not even necessarily with commercial aspirations. And one of them was just like, man, that having multiple people must suck when it comes to payday. And originally I shared a meme that just said, well, that's not a problem because we don't get paid. But I was like, in all seriousness, like it helps so much. Like one person could certainly make a video game in a game engine, and make it perfectly fine. I think, God, there have been a few indie games in the last few years where literally one person just went, I want to make a game, and they made it.
Well, one person made Minecraft. So
yeah, exactly, like that. Like, of course, but like it takes. It's so much better that I can focus on like this podcast, our website, because like, oh my god. And it's weird because I feel like stuff like this is kind of like making games in that it's all about iteration. Before I made this big shiny coin logo, oh god, I still need to update it on iTunes. Anybody listening on iTunes, you know how bad our current logo looks.
Oh no.
It looks so terrible, and I'm gonna replace it so fast. But like I was just like, this is just like making games. Just iteration, just better over time, like figuring out what works with an audience, figuring out what they like, and keep going with that,
Yeah.
So
that's the thing, is like you want to do something original, but you have to work within a box,
Right. How much would you say you guys have learned by doing as opposed to straight up, bringing pre-existing skills into the mix?
I've learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because so I'm in charge of our like G Suite, which is a lot of things that I did not know how to do before. I'm the one who set up all our emails, all of our like company stuff. I'm learning a lot about like software, like project management software and all of that. And just a lot about like keeping people in line and whatnot, like what I need to do or what I need to watch to make sure things are getting done. Like that's sort of like actually my literal day job, but
yeah,
it's way different when applied to like 6 people who live all over the country.
Right. Yeah. I can.
And then I know a lot of people like Parker's learned a lot about audio editing. He audits our anime podcast. He never edited anything before. And he's learning how he edits our Prey series now too, and he never knew how to like video edit either. So nice. I know a lot of people are learning random stuff here and there. It's been cool.
Yeah, I like that about, you know, making content and also making games. Just, you know, kind of learning as you go, because like there's so many, like, I feel like a lot of people, and I've met a lot of people who like don't do something like this because they don't feel like they know enough. And I'm like, you just gotta. And like one of the last podcast guests we had, Azili, one of the biggest things she was saying, she's, you know, on a panel at Pixel Pop last year here in St. Louis, and people were like, what's the biggest advice you can give to somebody who wants to start streaming? And she's like, do it. Push the button. Push the button. And they're like, what if I suck?
Eventually you just have to do it.
Yeah. Like, what if I suck? Well, then you'll start sucking less if you push the button. Like, you'll learn. Like,
it's like, it's the same in all things. You want to get good at art, you draw every day.
Exactly.
You want to get better at writing, you write every day. Yeah. You just do it. You don't force yourself. You just do it.
Yeah.
As much as you want. And eventually you'll get good at it.
Yeah. All right. I think that's a good place to end this podcast episode. Thank you so much, Miranda of Vertical Slice. Check them out, for joining us. Again, if you're not following the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/SomberDawn_Chad, do that. It's good times. And find Somber Dawn Studios on YouTube and enjoy our 1 hour played series, we that's also some good times. So again, thank you for joining us. And we will see you all next time.